I said my internet was unstable. Okay, will you watch and see if one comes up?
Okay.
This is the part where we're confused and then.
Yep, it's good.
Okay.
It'll be up probably.
You get in?
I'm not sure.
Probably.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay.
Wow, that was quick. We did it.
We did it. Okay. Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
We're here. Happy almost, well, it's Father's Day, but happy almost Father's Day for you.
Yeah, Father's to be day, I guess.
Father's to be day. How are you feeling about that?
It's about the same. I mean, it's the time where I'm gonna have to cut out, a good portion of my life for him is coming up. So just kind of getting as much as I can done until that point comes, because I won't have as much time to spend on non-family matters at that point. So
you have a few months left, right?
Yeah, it's about 4.
Wow.
October, July, August. Yeah, it's about 4. Yep.
Does he have a name that you're sharing?
Oh yeah, Cairo.
Cairo?
Like the city in Egypt. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Little Victoria. I keep saying little. It means victorious one.
Victorious one. Wow.
That's awesome. That's so good. Well,
congratulations.
Next year we'll have to talk to you when you're in that next part of that.
You'll be close to baby.
He'll be with us. I like that we showed up as twins.
Mm-hmm. Got the merch happening.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about what the merch is.
Yeah.
It's 100 degrees here, maybe, and it's
seriously.
Right, yeah, it's going to be a hot week here, and
it's 100. But I'm in a sweatshirt.
So I
was going to say that's interesting.
That's a free people problem,
right? Is it you're in an air conditioned area right now?
Well, I turned my AC on specifically extra right now in my house because I knew I was going to put her in a sweatshirt, and it's so hot outside right now. So yeah. Okay, well, let's get going. I might have to do my free people problem, put my glasses on here because I don't want to, but I can't see. So you are doing a lot right now. You've been home for, has it been almost 9 months?
I think it's been 9 now.
That was my quick math.
I stopped keeping track about a month and a half ago, but it's either 8 or 9.
Okay.
September 20th is when I got out. September 22nd.
Could you give us a quick rundown of all of the things you are running after and involved in, and that you're going to have to somehow figure out how to taper off of in 4 months?
So I guess I'll start chronologically. Graduate student at UWM at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee in the Sustainable Peacebuilding program, which is like a newer program, basically just built around, making people that are peace builders. You're getting like a master's degree in being a generalist, more or less. Interestingly, it's in the nursing school for UWM. And I am a community fellow with the Wisconsin Decarceration Platform, which is creating a digital one-stop presence for all the resources and events in the decarceration, reentry, reform, whatever term a person wants to use, and that work in the state. Like everything will be in one place.
That's amazing. That's crazy amazing.
There's a number of states that have tried things like that. There are some that exist. I try to definitely connect us with a lot of other groups that are doing similar things so that we're learning from them, that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And the group is very humble. They very much want to learn from other organizations. So it's University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee School of Engineering, Marquette University, a number of organizations in the city. So it's a lot of, people that are involved in resources. So it's definitely a very encouraging experience. And the website is wisdp.com. Just went, it's .org.com. I'm gonna check at some point here. But so then for the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development Board, they have different entities around the state. I am the subject matter expert on one of their committees, which is the Reentry Rising MKE. That's actually a paid position. So that and my fellowship are the only really 2 paid positions I have currently. Co-instructor with Marquette's Education Preparedness Program. I taught 3 of the classes in this last semester for the students. A co-instructor with Milwaukee School of Engineering as well. I was in most every course in the development stage of that going on from, it was the winter semester. So and then me and another friend, Adam Porcella, are going to be creating our entire course for the architecture of reentry for the following semester. So we'll actually be full on, the creators and the facilitators of the class for the MSOE. I'm also a member of Unlock Higher Ed, which is creating opportunities for higher education in prisons around the country. I just became a mentor for prisons to professionals. I have not got anybody yet to mentor. They're going to give me somebody, so like an hour or two a week. I guess we would just talk to that person. I co-own a trucking company called D's Trucks. It's about 3 months old. My childhood best friend, Brian Adams. We just started a consulting company with Adam Procell as well that ties into a lot of our stuff. So some of these things seem like crazy different entities all over the place, but a lot of them tie together. So I have ways to leverage it. So it's not like all a lot to juggle. I can kind of put it all in one box. It's just like a heavy box, but it's not a whole lot of things that are separate to juggle in a sense. Then the consulting agency is called Paradigm Shift. That's about the reentry community. It's about helping organizations and businesses attract, retrain, and retain people from this population in a much better way. This is a topic right now in society that has what I call high heels on and a tight dress. So while to take advantage of that right now, because that could go away, things happen their moments in time. You can't just assume that something's gonna be, we got the limelight now, so we can, it won't necessarily last. So we want to try and implement things that are long lasting and really hit at the root of the issue while you have the opportunity. So I'm just trying to find ways to get that done. I feel like there's two other things I'm missing for
the community.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I think we get into that. Right. My main thing, I'm like the director of the community.
Well, that's a good segue. Why didn't talk about that? And then that's a good segue.
Okay. So the community is something that I helped create. I never feel comfortable saying I created it, because if it weren't for a number of other individuals, it would not have happened. But it was my idea more or less, and this kind of the main force pushing behind it. But it was a newsletter that started out as just a newsletter in 2014 and December 2014, so basically 2015. And before that, I had been getting feedback from people. I was incarcerated at the time. I was getting a lot of information and resources across my path for a long time, because I would, with my support network, I would ask a lot of, hey, I heard about this. Can I get some information on that? Or there's this newsletter. I would just write and get on their newsletter list. So I would have a lot of stuff coming my way, and I would pass it around. I always pass everything around. I'm very big on whatever I get. I want to share with you, because not so much is going to come back to me in the end, but just because, why wouldn't I? Like, it's very simple. There's no reason. You don't need to have an argument to share things with people. Like, that's just obvious. And so and I say that because it seems obvious, but in prison, there will be people who will have a newspaper or a magazine, and they won't let you see it. They will charge you to see their newspaper, their magazine. This is a resource that is not going to be removed or taken away or lessened by you. If you share it with me, you'll get the exact same item back. Like, why are you charging me for this? So, so it started as that, sharing that, and I just was like, okay, clearly I'm seeing all these other publications that exist nationally and locally, not super impressed by things they talk about. I mean, there's some good stuff, but they're missing a lot of really important stuff that hits home for our specific prison, our specific prison system, or they do, but they don't touch on things that are more quality of life, that are really, I think people out in the world feel like people in prison, they're just biding their time. They don't really need to know about this or that, but you make that relationship. Like, everything starts with a relationship. So not to get too far off track, but we focus a lot on making people employees or parents before we focus on them as a human being. And the only way to focus on a person as a human being first is the relationship. You have to start with a non-algorithmic, non-quid pro quo do I get for this sense of, you need this, how can I help you get that? That's how it all starts. And so we started with the newsletter with that sense. The very first issue said, our purpose to connect. That was the very first headline of the first issue. And that is as much now, if not more, our purpose is to just connect people inside to the resources available outside, to other people in the system doing things they need to connect to other prison systems that are doing things that maybe give them an idea about something they can do, ways to maybe make some money while they're inside, maybe support networks for their loved ones, anything at all when it comes to them getting out of prison better, or they're doing their time in a more holistic fashion, or for their family. That's what it is. So we're getting into more things now, but that was the whole goal. And since then, starting out 200 readers to now having about 9,500 readers in the Wisconsin prison system. It's the most widely read publication in there. It's been that way for a while. Just, more and more opportunities to leverage that and make connection and be seen as credible messengers that are relevant for other partners that, you know, we are constantly making as well to connect them to people inside. So that's really what the community started as. It's grown into more things, but that was the core of it.
I know we always have questions. We always have so many questions, but as you were talking, I was thinking like in the federal prison system and the women's, like, it seems like for me, something like that would be, they would have considered it something like inciting a riot, just, or like so I'm really impressed that you were able to get that published, because it's so needed to know resources. Nobody knows resources in there. So I was just wondering,
have it shut down at some point?
Oh, it was shut down.
So there was a time when it was accidental. And I believe this because the way they responded. If it hadn't been accidental, it would have been a whole bunch of stuff we had to go through to get back in. But they meant to deny one issue because we'll have issues denied. Every issue that we have sent in has always had some denied. And in the early stages, we would have some that were return to sender. And I always wondered, I was like, you know, I'm not a shucking and jiving, you know, bootlicking type of person. So I'm going to put stuff in there that they're probably not going to like. But I feel like I'm pretty good at saying it in a respectful way. And I also understand the other side. I've always been that way. Like, because I have grown up being pushed and pulled between different worlds in a lot of ways, like racially ambiguous. Spiritually, I grasp every religion. They all have the same exact root. You know, we were arguing about 2% differences when it comes to religion. Politics are ridiculous because, you know, every side's doing the exact same thing. So I can connect to the ridiculousness and what makes sense in all sides. So I've never had anywhere I belong. And so I kind of had to adapt to seeing as a default when a story pops up, not, okay, your story's true. That's terrible. How can we get them back to let me hear their story now. And then maybe even some more of somebody else's story that watched it, because there's way more than just what you tell me. And so I'm always very conscious that to manage something and having a business degree is not that simple. So even though the DOC does a lot of stuff that's insane, they do some things that we don't think makes sense from looking at it. But when you hear why they did it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that does kind of. So I was able to not just attack. I would be like, okay, you know, this more of a sober take on things. And they never blocked us. They never really had an issue. There would be, you know, just issues individually that sometimes would get blocked at certain facilities, like the morning shift, whoever was doing the mail would get the issue and deny it. Second shift would come in and say, oh, this is cool. You know, it's just, that would be how it is. And so from that, one issue had a problem with it and they denied the entire thing. We contacted them. They said the reason we're letting you get to our higher up is because the person on our staff who contacted them was very respectful. They were like, okay, you know, you did this the right way. And he said, no, we meant to just deny that one issue, not you all across the board. But we still had to build up our readership all over again. We couldn't just get back everybody automatically. But then from that, the way things work is that organizations we reached out to in the past to help out, they never really took us seriously. But when we went away, people started contacting them and saying, hey, what happened with the community? What happened with the community? So now they're like, oh, well, let's contact them. Now I thought it was very amusing.
Yes.
But that's just the nature of how it is. You know? So it was a blessing in disguise, and they gave us a relationship with the DOC going forward, where every issue we give to the security director, they look it over and they say, okay, yeah, this is good, this isn't good. And that way we have at least some understanding of what's going to get accepted. Even when we put on there, pre-approved by security director, it will still get denied by specific staff at specific institutions for inciting a riot, promoting escape, violence, gang stuff. Like, how? Come on. This is
exactly. Well, that's awesome.
Ridiculous.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm glad that you got it through. That's amazing.
It's a cool thing.
We need that. Okay, I know you have lots of questions.
Oh well, you're doing a good job of like saying all the things I was going to ask questions about. So let's just jump way back a little bit. Like, let's see, how old are you? Let's jump back like 20 years or something, 25, 30 years. Tell me what you were like when you were like 10 years old, because you kind of did touch a little bit. I know your neighborhood, the racial stuff, like you're kind of in this in-between place all the time. So will you tell me what you were like when you were younger?
Yeah. I was rebellious, very curious, energetic, and probably too smart for my own good, I think is what a term I would hear a lot in one or two ways. I would like, I think one story that really gives an example of how I was that we went to Disney World when I was a kid, and I was with this select soccer group. It was I mean, I wasn't like super good at soccer, but I was good enough that I got to like a higher level, and we would travel around to different places and then return.
You're good.
So okay, so we traveled to Florida for a tournament one time, and we go there, and everybody's like, "Oh, Disney World." They go off one way, and as soon as I saw them all wanting to go one way, I wanted to go the opposite way, and I did. And it wasn't because what they were doing is I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to do it when they were doing it. Like I was like, "Yeah, you're doing that. I want to see these things then in the meantime because that'll be more fun for me because I'm seeing it when you're not." Like just the way my mind was, and
you're bound to get
I ended up crying and getting lost in the end. But you know, but that was just I think a good example of how I was like overly curious, thinking I can always wanted to go against what everybody else is doing.
This is why we like you because we are the exact same way. It didn't lead me to prison, but it very well could have, but it led you to prison. But I get it.
Similar.
We both like totally get that. I'm like, we'll just say curious,
adventurous, rebellious, and too smart for our own good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just curious. Like if I did this, what would happen? So
how did you not end up in prison?
Because
That is crazy.
We talk about that, and Christy will often say, like, if you lived in the environment I did, maybe you would have done the drugs, or maybe you would have gotten in trouble with the.
But you got married early.
I did.
So that helps.
But I just was around people in an environment that wasn't getting in trouble like that. But if you would have placed me somewhere else where maybe they were, then I very well could have gotten in trouble because it's not that my Miranda rights weren't read to me a few times in high school just to scare me, or I had my moments. I mean, the cops were at my house a few times, but it was very, just the environment wasn't one to really like nail a kid down for it, which in another environment, definitely it could have happened.
Yeah.
So
right, exactly.
I ask all of that because I find it fascinating to hear about, your perception or what, like you said, people would say about you, too smart for your own good. And then how that played out before you got in trouble. It was probably playing a role, and then you got in trouble, and then you went to prison, and it probably played a role throughout that experience. And now I already kind of know the answer to this, but I still want you to share it.
I want to hear.
Christy wants to hear just the thread of who that little kid was at Disneyland or Disney World. You're in the middle.
Disney World, Florida.
Yeah. See, on our side, we all go to Disneyland, but you
West Coast.
Yeah, Disney World. I just share about that, like that thread that runs from then to today.
Yeah, it was a matter of acquiring certain, I don't want to say restrictors, but just putting it into a context. Having, there are a lot of qualities in life that we have. And I was talking somewhere recently where there were this woman who was a nun, and she got it very well. I was impressed how some people can understand this without having gone through it. And she said in prison, people who are con man is very empathetic. She said, you have to be able to see the root behind some people that are in prison, the gift they have, and just how sometimes it can get used in this way or it can get used in this way. And, there's a company called Concreates that they take that exact concept of people who are inside. It started out with a guy who was a bank robber, right? Like 21 banks. And the guy's like, clearly you have a massive ingenuity here. Like you didn't get caught for all this. You got caught for like whatever it was. So there's a lot of that in prison where the gifts and the skills are being utilized in ways because people are in environments coming up that, epigenetics or just general tendency of human nature pulls them towards one way or another. And you can take somebody who grew up in a very lily white area and they could end up being, a crack whore in a bad area just because they don't have a strong sense of self, but they have all this structure around them that allows them to succeed in a very, streamlined fashion in one world, but in another world, they'd be on their own and that's not going to work out too well. So it's something where I was able to acquire empathy was one thing. I think falling in love before I went to prison, I always say was a really big part of allowing me to see that there is a whole different side of life that does not include me, that is just as important, if not more. And being able to recognize that it is entirely possible to feel this immense connection and desire to give my time to something that has, no direct relation to benefiting me, allowed me to get into, when I got into prison, like Buddhism and Buddhist thought and philosophy. And I'm not a Buddhist, but I lean towards it. And so the concepts in there of empathy and of suffering and how there's just this greatness to life that we don't see, and we're so small, and the kind of recognizing what I don't know if I can cuss on this, but the thing that I always say is the school of you say yeah, no, I don't know, can you? Oh, so recognize the school of you ain't shit. Like once you can start to recognize that you're not anything in this world, it makes things so much easier. But we hide from that, we run from that because it's like, oh, I want to be special. But being special is something that's making it difficult for you to go through life. Thinking that's true is causing so many of your problems. And once you can get over that, things become so much clearer and so much easier. So for me, empathy and just being able to start putting this energy I have, this rebellion, into what is the result of it? Like, am I just rebelling to rebel, which is what a lot of what I did when I was younger was. I didn't have a construct for it. I just had the energy for it. Now I have that. Now I have like an understanding of why I'm doing it and what is the likely goal. I might not be right, but at least I have an understanding of where I'm going towards and what the things I'm doing are likely to cause. And I have reasons for that. I was agnostic like from 14 on. I was like the first person in my group to feel that way. And it was because God didn't give me things that I wanted when I prayed. Like that's the stupidest reason to not believe in God, just because you didn't get things when you prayed. But now I have a different take on it that is like, I fully understand. I respect religion immensely. And it's something that personally just is not connected to my life. But that doesn't mean, it's right or wrong. I could completely be wrong. But I just have a different understanding of the same things I did when I was younger, that there's a maturity to this rebellion, a maturity to the curiosity, that I don't just run off and do anything. I have a reason why I'm doing it, but I'm incredibly comfortable not following you or what anyone else has ever done. I don't need you to improve or follow me. I'm going to go this way because I believe it's going to get me there. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't need, to have that.
Amen.
Hold my hand.
It's that status quo thing is what I rebel against. I rebel against doing the thing that's comfortable because that's what's expected, or that's what everyone else in my immediate sphere of social influence and environment and community, like I tend to rebel for that reason. Like maybe there's something else. Maybe there's a different way to do this or look at this and not just follow the herd. I struggle with that. This is a side note from something you said a little bit ago, but it made me laugh about your strengths that take you to prison sometimes, or your ingenuity. And I was thinking about your entrepreneurship, where when she got caught, she had spreadsheets of all of her dealings, and she was so organized and such a strong.
I was an entrepreneur,
such a strong businesswoman. She had it all dialed in, and so when they found it, it was very helpful to them. But
well, I wanted to make sure they got the real deal. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to say really quick was something you had said. Some of the people, since we've been doing the Freedom Exchange, will talk a lot about the law library. And I always ask Christy, these people have spent a lot of time, they've advocated for themselves, written motions, they've gotten themselves out of prison. And Christy was like, I went in there, it was archaic and it was dark and it was gloomy and it was hard and I couldn't even understand. It was like a DOS screen with a little cursor flashing. And she was just like, I wasn't about it. And then when I asked you about it, you had said something interesting to me about you tried a little bit, but then you realized for the reason you were there, you needed to shift your focus and spend your time doing something different. Do you remember that part of our conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a kind of a judgment call in two senses. There was one, I felt that I pursued it to a point, I got blocked. I could have kept going further down the law library rabbit hole of thinking I had a chance with even, 1984 motions or whatever, habeas corpus, all these things. I could have kept pursuing it, to even less and less thinner branches, going further and further out. But it just didn't seem worth my time. It seemed like with the aspects of my case, me having given a statement, the fact that I actually did it, I was like, just focus on coming out. Spend your time on focus on coming out really strong instead of trying to get out early. Probably never getting out early, because I know a lot of people in there still right now who, when I was at the very beginning of my sentence, they felt confident. Lawyers were telling them that they could do this and that, and it was going to happen. They haven't gone anywhere. And it's like, how much time have you spent on that? You could have spent it on something more about who you are as a person. And it's just everybody has to make that decision for themselves. Like some people feel they can do both, and that's true. I just felt like I wanted to do that and get a lot of other things going besides just myself, but an understanding of how to take off. And that all led to me really being comfortable when I got out, because I kept up with technology and ideas and shows I've never seen that I can talk to you to make you think that I've seen entire seasons of Game of Thrones. Never seen an episode. just because I read about things to keep up with how the world is. And so technology, the apps and services that I've never used, but I had an understanding of how they worked. So I was able to just slide into a little more easily than other people. But it's just, everybody makes that decision for themselves. What do they think is likely, and what do you spend your time on during your sentence?
Didn't you say that in Wisconsin? We didn't even say that. We did a terrible job introducing you in the beginning.
Yeah, we didn't even introduce ourselves, but that's okay.
Hey, I'm Allison Christie. This is Shannon. Hello, everybody. Didn't you say people tend to do no more, no less of their sentence?
Yeah, so Wisconsin is one of the 3 states that has what's truth in sentencing. It became a big thing in like '95. The federal violence intervention, blah blah blah. So all these initials and acronyms, but the bottom line is they were incentivizing states, giving them money to lock up people that had violent crimes for longer periods of time. And Wisconsin bought in hard. They have a completely do your time rule. Still is in the books. They have made some qualifiers over time where people can get out early for a release program. There's a sentence adjustment sentencing adjustment petition that people can make to the judge to get out 25 to 15% early. There's boot camp, but pretty much other than that, you're doing all your time. And for my felony, I had a B felony, A and B felonies. A has life. B felonies do all their time. I don't have any option. So I knew I was going to not be getting out any earlier or later, unless I did something really bad inside. But little minor things weren't going to get. So yeah, I knew there was nothing early. There's no incentive for me to do anything, play their game, because you weren't going to give me any benefit for doing it.
But honestly, one thing.
Get it.
You know what's so amazing is we have not had a ton of people on the show yet. We're still kind of new, and it really runs the gamut of people that were like Adrienne, who was incessant about writing 3,000 letters and getting herself out, and she got herself out. Mm-hmm. And people would make fun of her. And then you have somebody else who, like you said, just, some people just do their time. Some people are like you, who do really cool stuff inside to help the whole community inside and to help each other. There's just such a wide variety of, obviously, people, personalities, interests, and drives that I think it's such a cool and another way to explain how we're all the same, but we all have these different gifts and drives and abilities. And just because one person gets, that's their thing to get themselves out, doesn't mean that they're, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm just saying it's just such the big gamut of runs a huge variety of people in prison doing so many different things.
Yeah, well,
and different things.
On that subject we were just talking about, you kind of had said when you went in at first, maybe you were looking in that direction, but then you just were like, I'm going to focus on myself and being a better human when I get out. So how did you find other people that had that same mindset as you, like the friends, the people you spent time with in prison? Or did you find that the majority of people were just sort of doing their time? Like, I don't know. I know some of what you experienced, but how much would you say are people that are like, I'm here, let me make myself better because I'm here? Or maybe some people just make excuses or don't think they should be there.
Most people weren't trying to get out where I was at least I didn't think so. Like I said, the law library was just lines of words and numbers that I couldn't really understand. And it was more about doing your time. And really, a lot of people weren't really, I don't think, doing their time in a way that was trying to better themselves. It always shocked me. There was like 20 people in the gym out of almost 2,000, in the library, there wasn't a lot of people doing a lot of things.
What was your experience with that, and who did you gravitate towards?
Yeah, it was similar. I think that the majority of people inside seem like they're not doing anything, but in life, it's a tendency we have as people to look at somebody and say, okay, why can't you do that? But they are, but they're doing it in their way. This is not that simple. Everybody has a certain hand they're dealt. Everybody has, there's another quote I have, everybody has to row with the oars they're given on their boat. If you're given one oar, how can you be compared to somebody with 7 oars? It's not the same situation. I had like 7 or 8 oars. I have been completely blessed in that regard. I don't take any credit for anything I ever do because I feel like I was born with an ability to respond to things a certain way and had a support structure that made it almost like I should be judged heavily if I don't take advantage of these things in a positive way. And there are people, I know my good friend and our videographer, Kaylee, was saying this the other day, how she said she'll meet people who sometimes say like, they kind of look at me in a sense of envy, like, I just got out, I'm doing all these things, and they've been out for a little while, or whatever it may be in their life, that they're having some sense of envy. And she said, how do you respond to that? I said, I hate that. I hate that because if I was that person, I'd be doing exactly what they're doing. Like, it doesn't make any sense to compare where you are with where I am, because you're doing what you can do with the situation that you're in. The greatest way to know what you would do if you were in somebody else's situation is to look at what they're doing. It's that simple. There's none of that in somebody else's shoes. You have to be that person in their skin, in their mindset, in the way they respond to the world. Everything has to be the exact same. And if they're doing it, you do the exact same thing they're doing. And that's what ends all judgment for me.
That's just grace and a huge.
Right, yeah. That's recognizing yourself and everyone else.
And humility, and tons of humility, not to think, to be able to step, the empathy, like you said, to be able to step back and say, this is my set of circumstances different than this person. So clearly that we're going to respond in two different ways, probably.
Yeah.
Have the self-awareness to not, I don't know, think you're better than or stronger than or more wiser than.
Environment and personality and all sorts of things, age, all of that.
And I tie a lot of things into business concepts as well. Like, I think business gets a bad rap sometimes because it has some really good and effective ways of approaching life and connecting with people. But in business, you have some companies, some people have a lot more money, a lot more resources. So it is on them to then utilize those resources to help those that don't have as many orders. So I look at myself as one of those companies. It's on me to spend a lot of these blessings and this energy that I have to help people that, are trying to get to the same place with, whatever situation they have. So and when I was in, I didn't really see a lot of people because I think what stands out with me a lot of times is I'm definitely not common. So it's like, I don't see a lot of people that I feel I can connect with. I see all types of lessons in many things. I'll see a TV show, a book. Like, my mentors and my role models have been dead authors. They've been people I will never meet, never have met. They're people that didn't even exist. They were just characters in books. Like, these are the things that I've gotten inspiration from. I've never had one individual that I'm like, oh yeah, that's who I want to be. Like, because nobody fits the mold of who I want to be. I want to be so many things. I just can't see one person. I know when I first began my sentence, though, a person named Gordy Hoff, he really was influential for me. He was like the best example I had of somebody who was solid. He worked out every day, had a habit. He was in college. He was just a really incredible human being. And I just remember he was the one person for the first 6 years of my incarceration at that institution who I felt like I don't want to be that, but I want to exemplify. That's what I want to go towards. That type of, embodiment is where I want to be.
That's awesome. Let's move that into the shirts that we're wearing. Right. Connect all the dots for us.
Right. So the community, started out with all the newsletter stuff. And when I got out, I had this idea in my head for a long time that it seemed to me, and this has been confirmed for me many times since I've been out, that we do this terrible job in social justice work or reentry reform, decarceration, whatever term a person again wants to. I hate that we get caught up on the terms, but in this field of trying to create a more holistic community with actual safety and justice, that we do sound bites and we do shaming and we do yelling and we do a lot of protesting, but then when the opportunity comes, we just want to continue protesting. I feel like we just miss these opportunities to address what the root cause is, and that's lack of exposure through a lack of connection between people who are in the issue and people who have the power to help the issue. But when there's legislation that comes up, suddenly we want to petition legislators. We want to go to these communities. We want to try and get them to help us out, vote in our favor, make this new law that we're trying to get changed. But all in between these political needs, we don't make the connection. We're not actually in their communities. We're not reaching out, trying to be there and be seen. And unfortunately, in order for a connection to be made, their side's probably not going to come to us because they don't need, people that are in the communities most affected by the criminal justice system. They're in communities where things are nice. They can just live in their bubble. It's easy to just exist and not really look and see what's really going on in this issue and the extent of it in so many different ways. So it's then unfortunately on those of us who are in the system to go and say, hey, listen, we're going to come to your community. We're not going to allow you to keep ignoring this issue. We're not going to yell. We're not going to attack you, but you need to see what's really going on here. So correcting the narrative started out as just that, as us going to these communities in a variety of ways. We have our storytelling, which is on our website and our YouTube channel of successful examples of people that have criminal records. We just portray them and show that side of the story. not the pity narrative, not the spectacle narrative, which so many people do, even when they try to portray and be allies and showing footage of and stories of people that are affected by the system. There's like this 80-20, 70-30 focus on the crime and the background and the prison system and how difficult it was. And then maybe a little bit about what they're doing now. Like that should be a blip. If we want people to see us as equals and really walk hand in hand, arm on the shoulder, we need to show them exactly what we are now and stop focusing so much on the background, on the crime. I mean, if I walk up to somebody on the street, I'm not going to say, tell me your worst part of your life. Tell me the worst thing you ever did. Let's amplify that in your story. And it'd be interesting to have cops and veterans who are really successful and just tell their story about all the bad things they did. And then say, oh yeah, then he's a veteran, and then end the story. Like that would be an unbalanced story. We never do that. So tell the story about the person that is in front of you now, who they've been now for a long time, instead of all the things that can be looked at as excuses. And just, people connect to things in odd ways. They see a person's background and they think you're trying to make an excuse for what you did. So we won't even do that. Let's just talk about who I am now, what I'm doing now. And that's what our storytelling does. And our virtual events are town halls where and to be honest, we've had one so far with Concordia University faculty. So the goal is to do more, but that same sense of a town hall where people come and they present their doubts, their fears, their concerns about the issue. Instead of us just talking for 6 minutes each, you listening, we want you to come tell us where your concerns are, where do you think that you don't agree, and then we'll talk about that. And so the first one we did had a criminal justice professor, a Republican legislator who is pro-reform, 2 crime survivors, and 2 people that did a lot of time in prison. So like you have different perspectives telling you that the system's not working. Like this isn't just us saying this because we want less time. Nobody's happy with this crap. And these are all people who are deeply involved in it in some way, telling you the same thing. So come with your doubt. We'll talk and answer whatever you have to show you that this is not just us. And the physical events are just us going out in the community, in these communities, being seen in a different light. Simple as that. We're not going to protest. We're not going to proselytize you. We're just going to be out wearing our shirts saying, ask me about correcting the narrative, and then we'll talk about it. But you're going to see us differently. We're going to be a part of your community. I'm not going to allow you to keep getting away from this. It's like, no, stop. Can't get away. You got to look at this eventually. That's really, what it is. Premise on meeting people where they are in these communities, because people want to get involved, but you have to give them a way to do so. Again, like businesses. You can have a business that you go to the page and it says, here, shop for your groceries. Just go down 16,000 lists of things and search for what you need, or we can make it very easy for you. How are we going to do that? So there's an easy way to do it, and there's a dumb way to do it. I think we do it a lot of ways that are convenient for us, but are not actually getting us to where we need to get to.
This, again, we are so excited to talk to you that we didn't even do our intro the right way, which is to say who we are, like why we do
we'll tell them later.
Why we do the Freedom Exchange. And what you just said was
why.
You know me, I'm super fighting back tears right now. This is the heart of why we're doing this. I think is it Brian Stevenson that says, you're not, I'm going to butcher this, but you're not the worst thing you ever did. Like the worst day of your life, the worst choice of your life. We've all had them.
Whether you've been in prison or not, everyone, if they're honest, can really
and if people decide to keep me in a place of that day or that decision, and I don't get the chance to learn and grow and fly, and what does that do for me? What does that do for my neighbors? What does that do for my kids? What does that do for my community if I'm living in this place of I am that person all day, every day for the rest of my life? And so we're doing this to not just, we haven't even talked about, and we don't even need to talk about why you went to prison, Shannon, and what was all wrapped up in that, because that is, like you said, that's not our focus. Our focus is you have all the parts of who you are, which we've already discussed, the rebel and the different than the people around you and all the things we talked about. And you are taking that and you're running with it to love and serve and help other people around you, and not hold people in that place of that worst day and that worst decision. And that would have been our intro. If we would,
we'd like you to come on every time because
do the intro.
It's just so important, that redemption story and that
humanity story,
letting people do better, giving people the space to do better, that want to do better. And I know there's people that are struggling to do that, and I feel for them. And our stories on the Freedom Exchange tend to be the ones that are deciding that they want this for themselves and for the people around them and the people they left behind. And then we want to highlight that and cheer you on and come alongside you. And so thanks for sharing that. I'm a big crybaby and I did really good not to, but
no, I'm actually proud of you. And don't say crybaby. I'm proud of you because, you know, it's emotion. That's just energy. It's nothing bad. We're learning, you know, emotion is it's just real. You're human and you know, it's a beautiful thing to meet up with somebody else that you've never met in real life and go, oh my God, my heart's like yours.
Right.
Heart, you know,
Yeah.
so that's, for me, what I believe in is like, that's how we connect in humanity. And all the things you're doing, I'm thinking, wow, all your 7 oars. I want to know how to get a couple of those because I have a lot of people that would really like to do just a tiny bit of what you're doing, which is just to help put that shame away and to say, hey, I know I have a lot to offer, but I just don't have that tool to do it. And so I think what you're doing and the fact everything that you just said is it's so poignant, and it's how we heal humanity. Show up as we are. And current, I mean, everything we do it should be current, a current relationship, a current, you know, the person I am now in 2021, not 1982, you know?
But there is this population that wants to focus on that thing, which is why we don't typically highlight whatever the thing was on the Freedom Exchange, because it sort of doesn't matter to us.
Well, because a lot of, I've come to realize that most people that judge that thing are people that are hiding their own thing. They're, you know.
Was that a look?
No, but it's true because I was that person.
Yes.
Before I went to prison, I judged because I had a lot that I didn't want you to see. I didn't want me to even, you know, be aware of my own stuff. And then now that it was like, I got caught and everything was found out and I realized people still loved me and I could tiptoe into who I am myself and have me have this freedom that I have now that I had no idea that I could be free the way that I am. And I see that in you and I'm seeing that in you too. And it's just, that's how we all heal each other, I think. So yeah, I love your emotion. Don't say
well,
cry,
she gets
baby.
it a lot. So
no, it's true. It's good. So I love what you're doing, Shannon. It's amazing. And gosh, I wish we were closer to Wisconsin. Dang it. How are we going to
road trip?
Yeah, we got to take, I think as we, like you said, as we talk about what everyone's doing, if we can collaborate in a way that's like, that would be explosive, you know? Mm-hmm. Of all the things that.
Well, you're a total collaborator. Do you want to share a little bit about being that bridge and what collaboration looks like to you?
First our shirts.
Well, I thought, are you going to try to do the thing?
Oh yeah.
So let's do that later.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay. We only have a 15 minutes left, so we'll get to that.
And we have a surprise for you.
We don't have to give our guests a surprise, but I'm telling you right now, I'm so embarrassed about the surprise we're going to give you. Christy's making me do this.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. What was
your
question?
Know, collaboration and being a bridge. Go.
Yeah, for me, that so I guess one example is we just did this farmers market out in Brookfield. It's an area outside of Milwaukee. It's definitely more of a wider area. And we were in Waukesha before that. And so whenever I'm at these places, and I'm going to be having this on our site, it's being redone right now, but there will be a way for you to come on and say, if you don't want to get involved in what we're doing, there are a myriad of ways for you to get involved that connect to your resources, your skills, and your interests. So if you like education, you know, we've got education in prison right now you can help with. Education for people when they get out. Education for the children of incarcerated people you can do. If you are into spirituality or religion or the church, various things you can do that are connected to this population to help out. Business, whatever it is you have a skill set for. And say, like, again, we have partners that we can connect you to. So when I go somewhere, I'm never representing just our organization. I'm representing the work, the movement. I'm representing everybody who, you know, is in prison or is incarcerated, infected by the system. And in order to represent them, you have to amplify all the efforts and the resources that need to be, you know, increased and strengthened that are going on. And so it's never a come help us out. It's come help out. If it's not with us, we can find you somewhere. We have plenty of partners in place for you to go. So we just want you to help. And I think that's something that I don't see a lot when I go to places and I see fairs and I'll see groups that, no, I'm not even going to name specific groups, but I've just seen where you'll go there and it's really promoting themselves. It's promoting, okay, come do this and this with us. But they never mention, you know, these are other places, other ways you can get involved. And that's one of the molds I really want to change. I want to, in this work, always be looked at as a neutral source who's in between worlds, that this group may not even talk to this group because they can't, because of some funding issue they have. Like technically, in order to continue their funding, they can't talk to this one. That's, you know, that's a real thing that happens. But there's still a way for them to communicate. And so with what we do and with the Wisconsin Decarceration Platform, I'm always in this space. Like I said, I grew up in that space. I grew up in between. So I'm very comfortable being, you know, in between different groups and parties and being the communicator, being the bridge, being somebody who I can take all the insults you have about that group and then go to them and tell them only the good things you said, because that's what's going to help us, you know, connect and move forward together, maintain that bridge. So it's just where I'm always operating, trying to find out ways to improve what we're doing in that sense, and just always keep it going strong. I've been insulted. I have somebody in this work who called me a groupie and to stay out of that person's lane one time and something they're doing. And I'm never going to not try and work with this person. I'm always, because this person does really good work in this space. So it's something that when things come up, I want to send people that way. So I don't want to take that insult and be like, oh, I'm never going to have anybody go. Like, no, other people can definitely utilize what that person does. So I just personally, you know, probably can't work with the person, but that's fine. I'm not going to, you know, close the bridge off because of my petty dispute that I might have with the person.
Right.
So just one example of how, you know, we have to be able to take these small things, not let them keep us from working together, and keep the bridge strong. Always keep the bridge strong.
There's this term I've heard about, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And something you said in our conversation before was kind of along those lines of, do you want to find the solution, or do you want to just talk about all the ways that you think the solution should happen? And do you remember that part of you just said it way better, but you know, it's obviously not about you. When you talk, you know, you benefit from it in human ways because you're proud of the work you're doing and you're seeing fruit from it. But it's clearly about everyone else that you're really focused on making change. And it's not about, it has to be done in your way, in your perspective. It seems like you're super wide open to learning how that can happen as you go.
Yeah, the podcast that I have, it's a partnership between our organization and the Wisconsin Decarceration Platform called All in Wisconsin. And I say that a lot. I say my goal is to work myself out of a job. This is not I don't want this job. This job nobody should have to have this job. You know, this shouldn't even exist as a job. It should be something that we just as a society have not allowed to exist, but now we have to slowly tear down this incredible large monster, you know. But so my goal is to work myself out of a job. There's a variety of things I could be doing. I don't want to be doing this, but you know, I have to. And that's just kind of it. It's just, you know, whenever I'm doing, it's never a goal of, I want this to be something I can sustain. There's so many things we can do. I just want this to be something we solve. Whatever gets us there, whether I'm not involved or not, that's fine. Just want to get the damn thing solved. You know, get to the sunny place. That's all it is.
Damn thing solved. That would be our ending.
And I also love that about the fair, because do you just go to a fair, like rent space in a fair and then lay out your information and then connect people that want to be connected? I love, that's like, my head's going crazy.
Yeah, so my goal was to get into this specific community called Waukesha, and I didn't know how I was going to do that. And I went to a playground build, and I was at this playground build with some of our, you know, our people there just helping out with our shirts. And it struck me, I was like, this is too different. We're not really making connections. Like, we look at like we're just part of the company almost. Like, they don't even realize that we're here for a different. We're not owning our story enough here. And you have to own this. That's the whole point. If you're just there, but people don't know why you're there, what the connection with your background is, then it doesn't really, you know, be any purpose for what we're trying to get done. And so just reaching out, going to things, and the farmers market somehow came across my path. Somebody mentioned it. I tried one out and I was like, yeah, this is it. And we go with our Free People Problems merchandise. We have videos now. We have those available for people to see some of the vignettes. We have our business card with a QR code. Somebody can go there and they can see all of our work on there. And, you know, people come up and say, okay, what's correcting the narrative? Or what is this about? And then we have the conversation. And it's like A and B testing. I'm also like, people will go by and they'll look then they'll just keep going. I'm not a salesman person. I don't like that. I'm not an extrovert. I just play one on TV. I'm very much an introvert. I can just play the role of an extrovert if I need to. And I will let people go by. I don't want to like grab you and make you stay, but I'm becoming more into the sense of I'm going to have to start grabbing people when they come by. They show any interest right away. Hey, you know, somebody that has a criminal record, you know, start to have the conversation in a way that isn't going to turn them off, but is also going to challenge them a bit. You know, so it's just finding the best way to make these connections out there. But that's it. We're under the guise of selling merchandise, but we're really trying to sell an issue. We're really trying to sell you on something that you need to know because you're not seeing it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have a great idea we'll talk about later. I'm going to call you later about something because, I think that's something.
Well, and we'll try to put sources and I love your podcast. I had to stop telling you every time I listened to one because I was like, that was awesome. That was so good. I learned so much. I stopped bugging you about that because I'm a podcast junkie and I love your podcast. So it's for someone like me that's sort of absorbing and taking in a lot of new information that's new to me. You know, when my dad was incarcerated and I've gone through all these years, you know, 20, 30 years of him since it's happened. Like I never did this learning and it was quiet. The incarceration story was very quiet in my home. So now I'm absorbing it, taking it in, and your podcast is really informative for someone like me that's kind of new and super spongy. Christy knows this, but I do a lot of sponging up, and then I text her and I tell her all about it, and she's like, "Good, I don't have time to read all that and listen to all that. So just give me the cliff notes what you learned." And so I'm learning a lot.
I'm the same way. I like the cliff notes.
Yeah.
I have a job where I can listen to podcasts all day and do my job, so it's really I'm grateful for that. I'm not sure how Christy thinks we're going to do this surprise.
So is it on your computer? Because we're going to share screen.
Well, I have to be logged into TikTok.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
I thought you downloaded it.
I did, but I have to be logged into it. Do your speed round and maybe I can make it work.
Okay, so
I'm going to mess with my computer, everybody. Sorry.
And I have a few questions, okay, that we do this thing called a speed round. So I'm just gonna
I did catch this. Yeah, I saw this before.
Okay, so then this is like a one-word quick thing.
Okay.
I'll take my time.
Okay, we're going free people problem.
Yeah, we have a free people problem. Let's see. Are you a morning or night person?
Night.
Who do you admire the most?
My mom.
Oh, wait, why?
Why your mom?
My mom is, I don't even know where to begin. She married my father when he was in prison. She's a white woman from a small town in Wisconsin who married a black man from the South. She has just been so immensely supportive in every way you can be of me and my father. She's so, like, I don't think it's ever be possible for her to do something insincere and hurtful. She's just, like, naturally her body would just, like, shut down if she tried to do anything like that. So she's so sincere. I love sincerity. Sincerity is the ultimate value.
That sounds like you, right? It sounds like Shannon. Yeah.
But then she's also very different. Like, she is not comfortable at all rebelling. Like, she wants the comfort of she'll take the bad problem in front of her over whatever maybe better situation could be. And like, so she's very anxious. Like so she's very responsible. We have the same sense of responsibility that's really strong, but with hers, it's the responsibility where she really feels it. For me, it's like, I feel it, but I can let things go and move on if I need to. Right. I can't just focus. I have to stay driven on this. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. Describe yourself in 3 words.
A jokester, rebellious, and open-minded.
I like the jokester part. We haven't really talked about that, but we will.
If I can make this work, we will.
Yeah, we will.
So I'm in it. I just don't know where
it says upload. Where's your video?
I know. I don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
Okay, keep talking.
Okay. Let's see. Name one of the people you miss the most from prison.
I miss from most. I would say Dielo or my friend Chuck.
Nice. If you could talk in your sleep, what would you say?
Freedom is beautiful.
It sure is.
Okay, ignore what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Let's see. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you, Shannon?
How cool? I think I'm a 10.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you are. Good. If you were running for office, what would your campaign slogan be?
Fuck politics.
Oh, yes.
Christy loves it when people say the F word on the show. I get a little cringy, but she's like, yeah.
Well, there's some sentences that's just the only word that will work. Right? Let's see. What compliment do you give people the most?
Wow. That is incredibly tough for me. I think
No idea.
no, thank you's not one. That's stupid. I would say you did a great job.
Encouragement. That's great. What makes you smile?
Man, waking up.
Waking up. There you go. In a bed and free, right? Let's see. What's the first thing you think of in the morning?
Who sent me a message overnight while I was asleep?
Oh yeah.
But I have to respond to.
I like that too. I think about that in the morning. Is there a food that you were known for making in prison?
Oh yeah.
What was your specialty?
So okay, that. So like I would make a lot of stuff, but I would make it at the child table. I was known, one of my aliases was like Robin Hood or Smuggle-O Jones, because that's my cash app name.
Jones.
So because I would smuggle stuff a lot, but I would take stuff like to the chow hall. I would have
wait,
peanut
so
butter,
you take
bananas.
the chow hall,
Yes.
not out of the chow?
Both. But I was known for taking like a whole cabinet of stuff to chow so that I could make this elaborate meal out of whatever we had. And so we'd have stuff and somebody like, man, you just made that crap look good. I'm like, that's the only way you eat it. I'd have all these condiments and cheese and so maybe some vegetables I saved or cut up apples I'd put in my pancakes with peanut butter and banana and cinnamon, all type of stuff. So
Wow.
I was known as doing up the steak trays more so than actually making stuff on the unit.
That's awesome. Let's see.
Holy moly, I'm not doing well. We didn't plan this ahead of time.
I thought we did. Darn, we had something.
Well,
Can
maybe.
you show it on the phone?
Do you think you
show it
can
on
see
the
it?
phone?
Okay, wait.
Yeah, we have a TikTok.
If I held my phone, you can if I did that. It's terrible.
See,
Okay, wait.
ask Shannon, who's been out of prison for 9 months, how to do technology.
Okay, here's free people problem right here. Do you see my ring lights? And
Yeah.
that's embarrassing that we need that. We're old. Okay, this is so embarrassing. She's making me do this.
It's fun. Okay.
Wait.
Well, we got to start over.
I got to start it over, but
This is in honor of your merchandise, Shannon, and anyone that wants to purchase.
I can't believe I'm showing you this. We had
Yeah.
fun making it. It wasn't supposed to be shared.
Shoot.
Fix the ring
Where's
light.
my AirPod?
Okay.
Where's my AirPod? I just did 8 miles that I have to backtrack. I lost my AirPod. Girl, that's a free people problem. Shoot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for
that.
wasting your time on that.
Not at all.
Yeah, but we can talk about the free people problem.
We had a lot of fun. Yeah, we want you to talk about that. We had a lot of fun just like, what are the things that are free people problems that we just are dumb and we complain about that really like don't, because she'll talk to me about what life was like when she was all alone in the rain, running around the track for hours and hours and hours because it was the only place she could find solace and comfort while being like totally grieving and lonely and sad. And then we come out here and that was a true story that day. I lost my AirPods somewhere on a stinking long hike and I couldn't find it. But then I was like, that's stupid. That doesn't matter really.
Well, it's not stupid because it's important and it costs money. So, I mean, those it's
kind of dumb. I have bigger problems in my life than my AirPod. So talk to me about like where that stirred and kind of created and.
Yeah, I can't remember where it came from. I just, I know since I got out, but I used to say this when I was inside though. That's definitely like you'll be on the phone with somebody, and this happens commonly where you'll be talking on the phone, you're in prison, somebody's outside talking about, they got a speeding ticket or so-and-so doesn't want to bring their hat over or something. They're just really making a big deal about it. It's like, oh, that's so that sucks. Meanwhile, on my side of the phone, so I'd love to have that issue. So, we get out people get out, and I know when I had a blog for a while called The Inner Voice 84, and at the end of it, I would say keep boxing temptation. And the goal was to be like a nudge. It was just like a nudge, just remember this, we talk about how things are inside and stories from inside. And, free people problem for me is just that. It's like you get out and you need to have these anchors to remind you. Don't run from your past. Don't, in your head say, I want to get as far away from that. I don't want to have, some people don't want to keep anything from prison. For me, I want that. I don't ever want to forget that, because that's that perspective that allows you to have that understanding of where you were at a time when, you would have done so much just to have the little issues you have out here. So don't forget that. Don't ever forget that. So a free people problem is just basically saying that all these things you're going to go through in your daily life, are they actual problems, or are they things that you are like almost just the consequences of freedom, the consequences of having money, of having a car, of being able to afford, AirPods in that sense. Like, that's a good thing. Actually, it sucks you lost it, but a lot of people, even that are free around the world and throughout history, never would have had anything like that. So we're the 1% of 1%. Just don't forget that. That's just, we're all the 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
So. It's so good. It's so good. It's just, it's so obvious, but people are just sort of a lot of times just going through life doing their thing, and their vision is very much centered on how they're feeling and what they're thinking and how things affect them. And you bring, I think that's why we were drawn to you, Shannon, is because you bring this just wide perspective of, it's not just about you and your little world and your experiences. It's this huge world, this big world of a lot of experiences, a lot of feelings, a lot of beliefs. And if we can if we want to understand people and where they're at, that's when we can make change. And that's when we can shift some of the stuff that's just not good in our world.
And that's a great thing about being on a hike. I was on a hike yesterday, really high up, and you can't help but feel very tiny. And you're like, you know what? My stuff is not a big deal. I am so small in the universe compared to it's amazing. It really puts everything into perspective, exactly like the free people problem. So
yeah,
I appreciate that. I mean, we could sit here for hours and talk to you, but we're going to end.
Curious if you wanted to take your hat off and show us your haircut.
Oh yeah, it's lower than I would like.
I'm giving you a hard time.
No, I'll show you the back too. You want to see the back?
I'm
gave me.
Yeah, let's see the back. No.
I never have this. I don't know why you did that, but whatever.
Oh, look at you.
It was like an hour and a half sitting in that chair. I just said, I gotta go. I'll just take whatever I have.
I cannot believe your haircut took an hour and a half.
Yeah, I didn't get it. It was immensely slow, but.
Well,
thank you so
much
for coming on, Shannon. And I will have some questions about some things. And I just hope that we can really inspire people. I know you have people that have been out for a short amount of time and, are struggling between the shame and wanting to do things and what do I do and how do I do it? And so I love that you just encouraged to say, hey, let's if anybody wants to be involved, come to any of us. And if what you have to offer doesn't fit, then we'll get you somewhere that fits. That's a great thing about Zoom and the internet, is that now we have so many people from all across the country that we can plug into other places that can help and be of service, because everyone wants to help,
Yeah.
And even when you're helping, well, not everyone, I'm assuming they do, not everyone, but I think everyone should. So there you go.
There you go. Any final thoughts for us before we say goodbye for now?
Final thoughts. I don't know. I think that you two in particular, get it very well. And I envy people like yourself who never have been in it and get it. That's something that I know. I don't know if I would have ever figured it out if I hadn't gone through the situation. I always wondered where my life would have been. Sometimes people say like, oh, if you hadn't gone, you could have done this and that. I'm like, it probably would have been a bit of a jackass. So I don't know. I don't know how things would have turned out had I not had this, perspective shift and awakening in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't think I have anything to say to you too. I just think in general, for people that are paying attention, for my whole thing is always just meet people where they are. Just always try to don't meet people where you think they should be. Just meet them where they are and take that journey from there.
That's hard to do sometimes.
I love that. I think it's super important. You're awesome. We think you're pretty great. And thank you for
Shannon.
sharing this time. We can't go. What are you doing tonight?
Oh, the Justice Ball. It's All of Us and None has an award show they're doing. I don't know if you know All of Us and None. They have chapters around the country. They are doing their first annual Justice Ball where they are awarding people that do good work in this space. The people had to be voted, like it's a popularity thing to who's getting the awards. So that part, I don't know how it's going to turn out because it's really whoever promotes themselves in a sense better gets the vote and gets the award. Wow. But it still is a great event. I participated in nominating people and planning it and getting some of the stuff for the silent auction. So I'm not a nominee, which is fine. I like to be able to, just be in the background however I can as well. So and then we're doing our award show, the Correcting the Narrative Awards in November, which is going to be to celebrate all the unrecognized people in the system impacted space. So currently incarcerated people are going to get awards, formerly incarcerated people and family members who just don't get recognized, who don't run any organization, aren't on TV, don't have that. They just are doing what they need to do on a daily basis to support people. And it's going to be your night. All the good of an award show, none of the bad. If you come, you're getting an award. There's no, maybe, I didn't win. Like, no, you're coming, you're getting celebrated.
So awesome.
That's pretty awesome. You should come to Oregon because everybody in Oregon gets a trophy.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then our next show, we have Kieran Morrison from Freedom Fighters. And she is someone that's in the background, just doing the work, doing heavy, strong work. And so I love that.
Does not happen without that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay. We appreciate you. Have a super fun night tonight and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay.
And send me that video. I want to share that. I want to use that.
All right,
yes,
we will.
You're gonna be a superstar.
It's my first TikTok I ever did.
That was the first
one
TikTok we ever did. Signed up and everything.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.